are tuned in to the High Adventure Inline Series, bringing you the latest in racing and street competitions, plus tech tips with advice from the pros. This week, we'll be seeing the grueling K2 Hyper 20K from Womatauk State Park, just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. We'll be getting expert analysis of technique with Lisa Feinberg and another of TK's tips. Today's inline action is brought to you by K2, maker of a full range of inline skates, including the 2 Extreme and Extreme Speed inline speed skates. And by Hyper Wheels, the leader in inline speed skating wheels, who this year bring you the new Circle R wheel, used by top teams K2 Motion Sports and Special Equipment Company. And by Twin Cam, the exclusive provider of inline skate bearings for all K2 skates and the K2 racing teams. And by the Inline Club of Boston. Join the ICB, founded by inline skaters for inline skaters. Hello and welcome to High Adventure TV's Inline Series. We're coming to you from Womatauk State Park in Hingham, Mass., which is about 20 miles south of Boston, for an Inline Club of Boston 20K event. I'm Mike McCready, along with Lisa Feinberg, bringing you all of today's race action. Lisa, what can we look for in today's race?
Well, Mike, there's really 2 things going on today. First of all, it's a very narrow course in the woods, basically a 1-lane road. The second thing, hills. Nothing too steep and gnarly, but they're there, and the racers that are the gutsiest on the hills, the ones willing to make a move, they're the ones that are going to be hot today.
Okay, sounds like strategy's the word for today, so stay with us on the High Adventure Inline Series.
If you're worried about the future, plant a tree today.
They clean the air we breathe, create beauty,
They cool our cities,
shade us in the summer,
Conserve energy.
help fight pollution.
and protect us from the cold winter winds.
Birds will come here when it gets bigger. Children will play under its branches.
City trees add the soft touch of nature to our busy lives.
It'll give shade, keep things cool. And all the time it's growing, it'll clear the air we breathe.
Make life livable for all.
All this from one little pine tree.
That's the miracle of trees.
Start a tradition and plant a tree for each of your children.
And make a commitment to their care.
Hey, why don't you plant a tree too? Please. Trees for America.
Plant a tree, trees for America. Plant a tree today for all the world to share.
Welcome back to the High Adventure Inline Series. We're coming to you from Womatauk State Park in Hingham, Mass. for the K2 Hyper 20K. Now, today is a point series, and points are on the line. So who are we looking for today, Lisa?
Well, Mike, in inline skate racing, only one guy can win, but it's really a team effort, and the best team around this area is Team K2 Motion Sports. But if I were to put my money on one guy, I'd have to pick Jairo Ballesteros. He's not only on Team K2 Motion Sports, but he also lives right down the road, and he trains here all the time.
So Jairo is the person to beat today, and we'll see who's going to give him a challenge, because we're about ready for the start of the men's elite race. We're just about ready for the start of the men's elite race. Race director Tom Keene giving some last-minute instructions to the competitors. Lisa, what's going through everyone's mind right now?
Well, there's really 2 things going through everyone's mind. First, are they loose? Do they know the course? Are they ready for this race mentally and physically? The second thing, though, is strategy. Strategy is always key in inline skate racing. And the guys in the purple from K2 Motion Sports, you know they've given that a lot of thought coming into today.
Well, let's hope they're ready, because we're about to be underway with a rolling start. Can you tell us about that, Lisa?
Well, with a rolling start, the start doesn't begin right when they start skating. They are actually at speed when they cross the starting line.
Okay, looking at right out of the block is John Zarbert, looks like in the lead, with Jim Reardon over onto his side. And we're off and running at Womatauk State Park in Massachusetts for the Inline Club of Boston 20K.
Well, what you're going to see right off the bat are the better skaters in the front of the pack trying to form a pack and help each other vie for position. Early on in the race, pace is the key. It's always a big challenge, especially with a longer race, this 20K race, that you have to maintain a perfect pace from the start. Otherwise, you either risk burning out at the end, or you leave yourself too much. You get to the finish and you go, God, I didn't give it enough. I could have gone harder.
Looking at our leaders right now, we've got Doug Giuliani in second place from Team Special Equipment. In the front is Jairo Ballesteros of K2 Motion Sports. Lisa, what are we looking at on this course right now?
Well, right now you're seeing 2 skaters really trying to develop a strategy here. I had a chance to talk with Tom Keene prior to the race. He's with K2 Motion Sports, and he said because this course is so narrow, it's very important to press the pace right from the beginning and leave the guys that aren't quite up with the good guys in the back. So really you're forming just the elite pack right in the front, and no one is trying to come along with with it just for the ride.
Now, as they go along, they're forming their draft line. What kind of strategy is happening right now?
Well, drafting is key to inline skate racing. It's just like in cycling. You rest behind the person that you're drafting, and when you're leading, you're cutting the wind for the other guy. Now, the key is not to stay in front too long. If you stay in front more than about 30 seconds, you start to become inefficient. And that's how the team concept works. Teams work together, putting different guys out front first.
And look at this, the unknown, Vince O'Connell making a strong move around Jairo Ballesteros. What do you think, Lisa?
Well, Vince O'Connell, this is his first inline skate race ever. He's sort of an unknown entity here. No one quite knows who he's working with. He's on his own team. It's VO Max, although actually VO Max is an apparel company, and he's the owner and founder of it. So he's definitely decked out from the knees up. We know that for sure.
Yeah, Vince O'Connell still in the lead. Jairo Ballesteros behind him. Number 3, I can't quite see. They're coming up the hill and trying to stretch it out on the pack, but the pack looks like they're gaining them again.
Well, this hill could be the key to the course. It's only the first lap, so everyone's very fresh. But you're going to see as the race goes on that this hill, I believe, is going to be the deciding factor. It's not very big. It's not very steep, but it's there. It's kind of like Heartbreak Hill, you know, in the Boston Marathon. It doesn't look too big when you're driving up it, but when you're running up it after a long race, you can really feel your legs.
Still no clear leader, as Lisa was saying right now, but we're getting the view from the Ford leader cam. As they come down the hill, Lisa, what's happening at this point? It seems like no one's emerging as a clear leader yet.
Well, at this point, the lead pack is sticking together. There's a lot of laps to go. Remember, there's a little more than 9 laps to this race. They're still in the middle of the first lap, so no one wants to really break out ahead and waste all that energy. The pace is strong. The pace is very good right now, but as you can see, everyone's lined up very tightly, one behind the other, staying with the pace of the leader.
Okay, with just 1 lap completed of the K2 Hyper 20K of the Inline Club of Boston, we have Vince O'Connell, who's firmly established himself back in the lead, followed by Jack Irving and then Doug Giuliano of K2 Motion Sports.
Mike, I'm impressed that Vince O'Connell is still in the head of the pack. It's his very first inline skate race. The other racers must be really wondering, who is this guy? Because they've never skated with him before. He's an unknown entity, literally. He used to be a cross-country racer on skis. We know he's cycled before, but this is his first time on 5 wheels.
Yes, Vince O'Connell coming out of nowhere looking strong, but right now Jack Irving has taken over the lead again, followed by Doug Giuliani from Team Special Equipment.
You're going to see the lead changing quite a lot, I think, throughout the race. It's a very long race, 20K. The average race length is 10K. So you'll see these guys really testing the pace, breaking away from the pack, and then letting the pack come up to them quite a lot. It's really natural, and especially as the race gets longer, there's more and more teamwork involved. And it's not just people that skate for the same company. You're going to see lots of people working together, pacing each other that are skating for competitive companies.
And there we are once again looking at Vince O'Connell from the Ford leader cam, starting to stretch out a lead. Look like he's going for it a little bit here, Lisa.
They're coming into the hill for the second time. And Vince O'Connell, you can see that double arm swing going, everyone. It's hard to tell on camera that they're on a hill because it's not a big hill, like I said before. But it is a very important hill in this race. In fact, it's the only major hill. And Vince keeps peeking back over his shoulder, trying to judge where the pack is. I think he's testing himself right now, as well as the other skaters, to see just how much they're going to press him.
Okay, right now they're coming down a final incline, which will just complete the second lap of the K2 Hyper 20 from the ICB. Okay, right now the Ford leader cam obscuring our view just a little bit, trying to see if Vince O'Donnell is still in the lead. No, it isn't. It's Jack Zarber, followed by Doug Giuliano, both of Team Special Equipment.
Vince O'Connell just slipped back into the pack as they started out in this little section here. But he's right in there with them, which is very impressive. You see a lot of purple jerseys. That's Team K2 Motion Sports. They're hanging tough, hanging together. All of the better skaters are in the lead pack. And Vince O'Connell, in his very first race, is hanging right with them. That is very difficult to do. He's obviously very fit.
Vince really is going for it, but right now still it's John Zarber in the lead, Doug Giuliani behind him, and the pack is kind of tightening up through here.
The reason why the pack is tightening up is because they're getting into the part of the course where it's very shadowy and the pavement is quite rough. And as long as the lead skaters stick together, no one's going to be making a big move in this section. They really don't dare because they don't want to stumble. They don't want to risk it.
Okay, coming up, we're on about the 6-minute mark in on the second lap, and we'll be back shortly with some more high-adventure inline action. You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series, looking at Vince O'Connell still in the lead with some Team Special Equipment people trying to catch him from behind. Hard to see who that is at this distance, Lisa.
Vince has really taken quite a lead at this point. I mean, the other people in the pack are starting to wonder, who is this guy? They're definitely thinking about it. He is obviously skating very well right now. He has a very strong pace. He keeps looking back over his shoulder, though. I'm not quite sure he feels he knows what he's doing at this point, but he's giving it a try.
This is, yes, certainly someone we'll be interviewing after the race, because right now he has a strong lead. There he is. It's Vince O'Connell, the mystery man. No one knew him before today, but right now he's in charge of the K2 Hyper 20K from Womatauk, Massachusetts. Lisa, looks like no one's really making a play for him right now.
Well, they're not really trying to catch him right now, but they're also not letting him out of their sights. This is very common in inline skate racing. When someone breaks very early in the race, remember we're only a third of the way through the race right now, they let that guy go because as long as they can stay within sight of him, he's going to get tired because he's cutting the wind by himself. It's very tough to be on a solo effort.
He's the man. Vince O'Connell still in the lead. The pack still kind of hanging back, really not making a play. What's happening right now strategy-wise? It's still early in the race.
Well, like I said, the main pack is watching Vince O'Connell. They're waiting to see what he does. They're not going to try and really push the pace because that's exactly what he's doing right now, but they're letting him get tired. One of the advantages of drafting is you get to rest when you're in the pack. He's cutting the wind all by himself right now, and it's virtually impossible to maintain that for 20K unless you're superhuman. We'll have to see if this guy's bionic or not.
Yeah, will he survive or will he burn out? And he's from Team VO Max, and I'm sure he's reaching his as we're coming up toward the crest of the hill. And as we come into this final corner, this will be bringing us down to the completion of the third lap of the K2 Hyper 20K from Womatauk, Massachusetts. Lisa, will they make a move on this hill, do you think?
Well, it's very difficult to actually make a move on the hill. The place to make the move is coming over the crest of the hill. Most people just will maintain their momentum coming into the hill, but the thing that really differentiates a very strong skater from someone that's not as strong is the point where you crest the hill and start to go on the other side, and you can maintain that rhythm. You don't let up and try to recover too much.
Okay, as we have just completed the third lap, we still see Vince O'Connell in the front, and trying to look in the back, we see the pack looks like they're trying to make a move up here, and they have caught up with him. It looks like Jack Irving, a little hard to tell from this distance, but that's Jack Irving, who's now moved into the lead, followed by Sten Seaman. He's in second, and in third place, it's Jairo Balestros from Team Motion Sports.
Three very strong skaters. Jack Irvin is literally pulling the rest of the skaters up with him. This is a very good place to make a move on the course. Someone who's not as experienced will try to recover here because it's not steep, and in fact, it rolls downhill in sections. But those skaters that are more aggressive, they're the ones that are going to really push it here because that's where you can actually make time.
Okay, look, and we see someone is already starting to fall off the pack. The front pack was taking a bit of a breather there, but they're still working hard and actually starting to lose some people who are being lapped, and couldn't quite see who those numbers were as they came by. Okay, looking back at our leaders in the front there, we see it's Jack Irving of K2 Motion Sports, followed by the youngster Shane Keene.
Well, Jack Irving, he used to be a professional hockey player. He was in the Nordiques organization for a while, and then he went on to play in France, and that's why he's such a strong skater. He's really one of the mainstays of Team K2 Motion Sports. He has a stronger build than most of the other guys. The other guys tend to be longer and leaner, but he is still a very, very good skater. You know, before he started inline skating, he used to do triathlon.
Well, Jack Irving's going to need that strong background because right now, moving into the lead is John Zarber from Special Equipment Company, followed by, looks like Doug Giuliana and Jairo Balestros in third place.
No doubt that John Zarba has the endurance to handle this sport. He's run the Boston Marathon 4 times, and when the distances get up around 20K, you definitely need endurance. This race is going to run over 35 minutes.
Okay, we're about 10 minutes into the Hyper K2 20K from Womatauk State Park. We're looking at John Zarba, who's been leading for a while, but looks like he's backing off a little bit, maybe looking for another leader, but he's still going strong, Lisa.
Well, what you see in an inline skate race is the pace changes, the momentum changes depending where they are on the course. The pack will change its pace along with the leader. So right now they're on a part of the course that is very level, very flat, and you see people taking a break, not a break in that they're stopping, but you see they've stood up, they're giving their backs a rest, but very quickly they'll drop back into a tuck as soon as someone starts to feel strong, and someone is coming up the left side right now.
Yeah, it looks like the breather's over, and that looks like it's Vince O'Connell has made his move once again into first place. The man that no one heard of is once again in first place. They're forming a tight draft line as they come around the corner, coming close to the completion of the fourth lap here, Lisa.
Well, Vince O'Connell, he is certainly setting the pace for this race, but this time no one's letting him get too far ahead. I think they're a little worried.
Look at them work coming up that hill. There's times when they're gliding, there's times when they're working, and they're putting all their effort into it right now as they come into a downhill, which is going to bring them down the stretch where they will be completing the fourth lap. Now, if you look on the left, that's Mark Kendall making his move, and he has gone around Vince O'Connell, and he's looking to stride it out a little further, Lisa.
Well, he made a very good move. He hung behind O'Connell, let O'Connell break the wind on the uphill, then made his move as soon as they crested it, and now on the downhill, he is really striding out, trying to pull ahead.
Look at that. We look at those purple jerseys of the K2 Motion Sports, trying to work as a team, get their draft line glowing, and it's still Mark out in the front here.
Mark Condola. He's a former bike racer like many of these people, but he was actually a professional bike racer. He was on team IME, which stands for International Medical Examiners.
Well, not too many stiffs around here, probably, as there were on that team.
He's certainly not skating very stiff today. Anyway, he's 27 years old, and his day job, he's an accountant for Houghton Mifflin. But he's also an excellent inline skate racer. He's one of the original founders of K2 Motion Sports.
Okay, well, hopefully Jack Irving, with his background, can catch the now current leaders John Zarber of Special Equipment and Doug Giuliani on the same team right behind him. They're followed by Jairo Balestros of Columbia from Motion Sports.
Well, Doug Giuliani, he's the captain of Special Equipment Company. This is the second year of this team, and it's actually the second team that's come out of the Boston area. Now, Doug, even though he's one of the younger skaters out there, he's just in his early 20s, he's the one that actually organized the team. That's why he's the captain of it.
Look at that draft line, Lisa. Perfect form. And right now we're looking at John Zarber, Doug Giuliano, and Jairo Balestros as we have to take another break, but we'll be back with the K2 Hyper 20 with Lisa Feinberg and Mike McCready. You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series. Mike McCready along with Lisa Feinberg as we look at our leaders, Brian Boudreau, followed by Tom Keene and John Zarber. Lisa?
Brian Boudreau is probably the most improved skater out there today. Actually, he's wearing Tom Keene's uniform from last year, so he's not really on the same team. But anyway, he's worked very hard to get to the lead of this pack. Last year, he was dropped from the lead pack every single race, but this past winter, he trained very hard on inline skates and on ice speed skates, short track, and he's really improved not only his endurance, but also his technique, and it's showing today.
Okay, Lisa, a little bit past the halfway point in the K2 Hyper 20K from Womatauk State Park in Hingham, Mass. Sponsored by the Inline Club of Boston, a great organization in Boston that really promotes inline skating in the area and has been very helpful to us with our race coverage. Now, as we come down this straightaway here, we're looking to see, as they make a move once again, it looks like Jack Irving is pushing himself into the lead, followed right behind by Tom Keene of the Inline Club of Boston and K2 Motion Sports, and Brian Boudreau is right now behind him, kicking up some pollen there, Lisa.
Yeah, that's a very difficult part of today. There's so much pollen coming off the trees, the air almost feels yellow, and anyone who's skating out there that has any kind of asthma or even has hay fever, they've got to be feeling it.
Okay, right now we see several of the races taking a breather, looking for someone to take charge and make another burst here. And right now we're looking at Tom Keene in the lead. He's looking back, but he's also striding ahead to see if anyone's going to take over the lead, which looks to be John Zarber, Lisa.
Well, John Zarber might have just taken the lead, but he's not going to leave Tom Keene in the dust. Tom is the race director for the Inline Club of Boston, and he has been doing this sport for a long time, since 1991. He's been on Team K2 Motion Sports for 4 seasons, so he's definitely a veteran. And he's actually was in the top 5 in the very first race he ever went in, and it's an interesting story because he did the race on 4 wheels instead of 5 wheels. That's unheard of.
Yeah, that is unheard of. All these people out here on 5 wheels, and it's the K2 Hyper 20. Right now we're about coming up on close to the end of the 6th lap, and let's take a few minutes to talk with Tom Keene, who gave us some inline skating tips called TK Tips.
Hi, I'm Tom Keene from the Inline Club of Boston. I want to tell you just a little bit about what I wear as a racer to help me be competitive. I wear, number 1, a helmet. And while a helmet might not cut seconds off my time, it will save my life if I crash, and that's really important when you're hitting speeds up to 40 miles an hour downhill. Another thing I wear is a wrist protection with a mirror. This is made by CDS Detroit. Helps me see behind me to look at the pace line. If I get away from the pack, I'm trying to see who's following me. It really comes in handy. Next thing I wear is a skin suit, and the skin suit keeps your aerodynamic, cuts the wind resistance. Underneath my skin suit, I have a heart monitor, which transmits my heart rate to a wrist unit, helps me understand how much energy I'm expending during a race so that I know whether I have the built-up reserves left to really punch it in the sprint. Next, I wear racing skates. These are different than recreational skates. They have a longer wheelbase, they're lower cut, and you can lean further out over them to really get into your stride. So I'm Tom Keene with TK's Tips here from the Inline Club of Boston. See you next time.
Thank you, Tom Keene, with TK's inline tips. Right now, Tom's in third place. In front of him is John Zarber, and in the lead is Brian Boudreau.
I think you're going to see Tom near the lead, if not in the lead, throughout this entire race. He definitely knows how to pace himself. He was in the top 20 last year in the double ISA Ultra Distance World Championships. That's a 100K race that happened in Central Park. And in order to finish that well, you have to know how to pace yourself.
I don't know how I could finish 100K, Lisa. I don't think I could even do it in a car. But as we're coming down this hill, we're coming down to the completion of the 6th lap. And right now in the front, it looks like Brian Boudreau is still pushing ahead in the lead. And behind him is John Zarber. And Tom Keene has fallen behind, and he's picked another spot in the draft line. Looks like they have that draft line going well, Lisa, don't they?
The draft line is very tight today, and it's actually a very big pack for this long a race. And we're quite far into the race right now, 2/3 of the way. Normally by now, the pack starts to spread out, and you find littler packs each helping each other along. But now we still have one major big pack.
We see some people look like they're trying to make a break. Sten Seaman is in the front, but it looks like we have a little bit of a break going on. They'll be forming a line as they come back around this corner, and Brian Boudreau has reestablished himself in the lead in the black and white there. But following him, right behind is in the Jairo Balestros from K2 Motion Sports in the purple. Another teammate in purple behind him. It's probably Tom Keene, but hard to tell from this angle, Lisa.
Jairo Balestros, he's another one of the stronger skaters out here today. In fact, at the top of the show, we said he was one of the favorites. He lives right down the road from here, but originally he's from Colombia, and he is a world-class quad speed skater. That means racing on traditional roller skates where the wheels are side by side instead of in a line.
Jairo's fast. Mark Candola making a big move to the outside, coming around the corner. Behind him is another person in purple, which is Jack Irving from the same team, working together, and we have an all-out sprint going on here, Lisa. Let's see as they come into this next turn if they're still maintaining that fast draft line. Yes, Jack Irving is in front, and Tom Keene has moved back into second place with Brian Boudreau in third, and Marty Medine is in fourth.
Well, Candola and Keene are trying to press the pace right now. They're trying to see what the other racers have. And as I said before, the racers continually throughout the race will keep trying to test the pace. But at this point, as we're winding down, we're getting into the later laps. This is what really separates the men from the boys, so to speak, because the stronger skaters are going to be able to hang in there.
That's right, Lisa. We're going through a grueling 20K with Jack Irving in the lead, and Sten Seaman is right behind him. We're going to take another break, but we'll be right back with more of the High Adventure Inline Series from Womatauk State Park in Hingham, Mass. You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series from Womatauk State Park in Hingham, Massachusetts. Mike McCready along with Lisa Feinberg bringing you all the race action from this K2 Hyper 20. In the lead right now is Jack Irving, followed by Sten Seaman, and then it's Doug Giuliani, it looks like, after that, Lisa. Boy, Sten's looking pretty strong, isn't he?
Sten Seaman, he's been one of the stronger skaters out here since he appeared on the scene only a year ago. Last year, he skated very, very well, and he's on an old pair of 5-wheel skates. They're heavier than what everyone else is using, but he's still very strong in the sprints. He's also got a tremendous amount of endurance. He's a cross-country ski racer in the wintertime, but his approach to inline skating, his style is really dependent on brute force and conditioning because obviously with the skates that he's using, he needs all the help he can get from his physical ability.
Okay, this racer cam shot of the leaders is brought to us by Ford Motor Company. Before we started the race, Lisa, we had to work very carefully with the inline race officials to make sure that no one could pull a draft off that lead vehicle. And as we look back at the leaders, we see for the first time, Lisa, 2 draft lines are forming. Looks like John Zarber is in the head on the right and Mark Candola on the left.
It's very dangerous when a race is this narrow, when the road is this narrow, to have 2 pace lines. It doesn't happen on purpose. It's actually an accident. Most of the racers like to be one behind the other in a nice, neat line. The way this forms is when one racer tries to drop back, other racers are pulling in behind him to catch his draft, and 2 separate lines form. Now, the reason it gets precarious is because if one person tries to pass or make a move, the 2 front racers are taking up the entire road. So it can really become a mess if one person connects skates with another person.
That's right. Look at all this traffic up front. Rarely do we see such a busy front pack with so many people vying for position in this grueling 20K event brought to us by K2 and Hyper. As we come around that corner, someone else is making a move, and once again, it looks like Vince O'Connell is trying to stretch out a lead to move into the lead. Yes, it is Vince O'Connell, the mystery man, as we've been calling him here for this race, because no one knew him before today. He's made a really decisive move here, Lisa.
This is actually the first major break of the race. Prior to this point, all of the breaks had been fairly minor, just short distances. The rest of the pack pack staying with him. But this time, O'Connell is really trying to press the pace. He is basically moving ahead, accelerating from the pack.
Look at those strides, Lisa. I mean, he is leaving that pack is almost in the dust. This man has a mission. It looks like he's going from the finish at this point in the race, which is hard to imagine.
It's still quite early to do the final sprint. I don't think he's actually doing that. What he's trying to do is distance himself from the pack. I think as a cycler, he's got to be trying to figure out how to handle this. He can't skate with a team. He doesn't have anyone to help him because he isn't on a team. So it's probably not as familiar with him to skate with a pack. It's probably more comfortable for him to be ahead. Now, the big question is, did he brake too early? Because there's still a couple more laps left.
Right, as we come around that corner, he's coming down the hill toward the completion of the 7th lap at the K2 Hyper 20K. I'm Mike McCready along with Lisa Feinberg. Stay with us. We'll be back with some more exciting inline racing action from Womatauk State Park in Hingham, Mass. You're back with the High Adventure Inline Series with the Womatauk 20K, sponsored by K2 and Hyper. Mike McCready along with Lisa Feinberg. We're looking at our leader here, Lisa, Vince O'Connell. He's still going strong.
Vince O'Connell has really amazed me today. It's his very first inline race ever. He does have a cycling background, but that is about all he's got that's relevant to this race right now, and he has left the pack in the dust. He's skating very hard. He's got a double arm swing going. He is trying to gain as much momentum as he can. He's got a very strong stride. Few technical faults. He doesn't quite bring his feet in all the way and make a complete stride each time, but considering we're almost 20K into a race, he's skating very well.
Well, we've dubbed him the Mystery Man, and he adds to that mystery as Vince O'Connell continues to stride forward, Lisa.
It's unbelievable how strongly he's skating. Right now, the rest of the pack isn't even in sight. They haven't even come around the turn yet, and O'Connell is skating really hard. As the back of the pack comes into sight, he is rounding the next turn. This is unbelievable, the amount of lead that he has made for himself.
Vince O'Connell with a commanding lead as he comes around the corner, coming up to complete his 8th lap with the pack over 22 seconds behind him right now.
Well, the pack has got to be thinking, how did this happen? How do we let this guy break away so far? You know, no one intended to do it. They wanted to stay right with whoever was leading. And right now, O'Connell, not with any team at all, is carrying the whole race on his shoulders. But the big question is, can he maintain this pace? It's his very first race. He probably has no idea what he's got left in himself.
Our leader, Vince O'Connell, just checked over his shoulder, and we can see the pack is starting to close a little bit. We're in the 9th lap of the 20K, brought to us by K2 and Hyper from Womatauk State Park in Hingham, Mass. No one really making a move in that pack yet, but it looks like they're trying to get something together, Lisa.
Well, Jairo Balestros just pointed to his team. He's saying, line up, let's pull each other up there. Let's catch this guy who dared take the lead from us. And you can bet you're going to see the stronger teams now pulling each other towards the leader. They're going to give O'Connell a run for his money.
Okay, back at the Ford leader cam, our leader is Vince O'Connell. The mystery man continues to amaze us with his endurance power is the only way I can describe it, Lisa.
He's a very powerful skater. He's not a technically perfect skater, but he is obviously very fit and very well conditioned. But the pack is gaining on him right now. They are trying very hard. You see a very tight draft line, and you can bet they're going to give him a run for his money.
Yeah, we saw Tom Keene in the front there. Looked like he was checking his heart monitor, and the pack is closing in. It's down to about 16 seconds now. Looking to get his first trophy in this very last lap of the 20K from K2 Hyper in Womatauk, Mass.
Well, every once in a while in inline skate racing, someone comes out of nowhere, someone who's very fit, someone who's crossed over from another sport and blows the doors off the field. And that seems to be what's happening today with Vince O'Connell. This is an incredible display of a first-time effort.
Okay, Lisa, we just got word that they are closing the gap on Vince. The mystery man is maybe losing some of his mystery. It's down to about a 12-second gap between our leader, Vince O'Connell, and the pack closing in behind him there, Lisa.
Well, it looks like O'Connell is starting to tire. You can see from his legs are a little bit further apart. He's not bringing his stride completely in, and sure enough, the pack is gaining on him. They're actually only about 100 yards behind him at this point, and they're going into the hardest hill of the course. O'Connell looks to be very much tired now. In fact, his arms are dragging, and he's not really getting the momentum and the power out of every stride. He's going to have to really push now and get a second win if he wants to stay in the lead.
And the VO Max looks like he's been reached by Vince O'Connell. He's standing up, and coming up behind him, it looks like Jack Irving is leading the pack. Looks like they're gaining on him, Lisa.
Well, O'Connell stood up. He has hit the wall. He is really dragging now, and Jack Irvine, he has pulled the rest of the pack up. He's actually caught O'Connell, and now he's passing him. He's leaving O'Connell in the dust.
And look, right behind him, it looks like we have Brian Boudreau. He's looking for another person to draft along with him. him, and it looks like they're starting to even get into a pre-sprint for the finish, Lisa. There's still less than a half a lap to go.
This is an incredible display of teamwork. Jack Irving from K2 Motion Sports has literally pulled his team, plus everyone else in the lead pack, past Vince O'Connell, and it could really sacrifice the race for him because there's still a half a lap left to go, and he is cutting air for everyone at a point where he's got to be feeling it.
Absolutely, Lisa. In this grueling 20K event, there's less than half a lap to go. And as we come around the corner, looking right now at the leader, looks like it's Jack is still in the lead. Jack Irving is still in the lead. Look at that pollen being kicked up there, Lisa.
Not only are they very tired, but they are breathing a lot of stuff right at the point where they need the most oxygen they can get. But Jack Irving, he is skating really strong, really powerfully. He has a very unique technique. He actually speed skates like a hockey player, but it works, and he's very powerful, and the rest of the pack is staying right with him.
Okay, looking at the leaders here, we have Jack Irving is still in the lead with Brian Boudreau coming up behind him, and it looks like Doug Giuliana behind him there, Lisa.
They've just gone around the last turn to the finish, and they're starting to break apart. Each racer behind Irving is looking for a place to make his move. And there's a move on the right. Tom Keene starting his sprint towards the finish.
What an exciting race this is turning out to be, Lisa. The K2 Hyper 20 has a sprint starting before they normally do it.
Well, in this case, these guys have been in a very tight pack for a long time now. Remember, they had to catch O'Connell. And right now, Sten Seaman in the white on the left, trying to catch the leader, Tom Keene. He is powering forward.
Tom has been passed by Sten Seaman, and behind him has moved in Jairo Balestros from K2 Motion Sports. He's a well-known sprinter and always strong in the finish. We'll look to see if Stein can hold him off.
Talk about two styles of technique. Jairo Balestros, very technically correct. The quad skater from Colombia coming up on the cross-country skier from Burlington, Vermont, who is just a brute, just muscling towards the finish. He's not letting Jairo get by him.
Sten Seaman's pushing as hard as he can, the big man trying to hold off Jairo Balestros as they come into the final corner of this K2 Hyper 20K. As we come around, Sten Seaman's is pushing hard. Jairo Balestros looking to get around him. It's going to be very close. Sten Seaman pushing. Jairo Balestros, Sten Seaman. Jairo Balestros, will he catch him right at the end? No, it's Sten Seaman's right at the end. 36:59 is the winning time. And coming in third place, that's Mark Candola, followed by Doug Giuliani in fourth, and Tom Keene of K2 Motion Sports in fifth, as the rest of the field crosses the line in this very exciting K2 Hyper 20K from Womatauk, Mass. Lisa, what a finish.
It doesn't get a whole lot closer than that. I mean, he literally won by a wheel. I think the key was Seaman started to sprint just a fraction earlier, and then he was able to hold Balestros off. That's what clinched it for him.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. We're out of time, but we'll see you again next week on the High Adventure Inline Series.